Hi, this is Reza Sheeb, and I just want to do a quick demo of the geometric placement mod for Don't Starve and Don't Starve Together. The general idea is that normally when you place things, you just sort of put them wherever you want, and this can be kind of disorganized. So if you're OCD like me, you want to plant them in nice, neat grids, and this makes that really easy by showing you where the grid is blocked and snapping everything to a grid. There are a bunch of other ways that you might want to do this though, so there's an in-game configuration menu that you can bring up with B, and this lets you change almost every option the mod has. So the default geometry is square, and this lines up with the turf. You'll see if I dig up the turf here. The grid is lining up with the edges there. But if you want it to be a square from the default camera angle, you can use this diamond geometry. It's a diamond relative to the turf, but square from the default camera angle. Then there are also the 4 hexagonal geometries. So the main advantage of a hexagon is that you can do really tight packing of things. So if you just make a row of things, normally you'd line things up with this row and put it maybe around here, but that's not quite as closely as you can pack them. So if you fit them into the gaps here, you can do even tighter plantings. As for which hexagon to use, the X hexagon here lines up with one of the turf's axes. You can see the flat edge lining up there. And then the Z hexagon lines up with the other one. But if you really just want it to look like a normal hexagon from the default camera angle, you can use the flat top one or the pointy top one. And they're just different versions. Then you might want to change the colors. So the default is red and green, but I added red and blue for red-green colorblind players. But neither of these are very visible at night, or especially on a full moon, so I added black and white. But that has problems on snow, so there's outlined, which really gives the best visibility in all circumstances. It takes a little getting used to, just because it looks a little weird, but now that I'm used to it, I definitely would rather use this than any of the other options. So then you can turn off the grid. It'll still snap in place, but if you don't like the way it looks or something. Then you can also turn off the placer. So normally it's showing like that planted tree where it would go, but you can turn that off. The main reason to turn it off is sort of if you're planting structures like drying racks, it's hard to tell exactly where it's going, where the center point is. So if you turn off the placer, it both is not blocking the grid, and you can see, oh, it's exactly this point that it's going to go. Then there's the same sort of deal with the item on the cursor, so that can block the grid a little, but if you can turn that off so you can see the grid more clearly. Then there's the refresh speed. So I set it really low by default to make sure that it wasn't lagging for people. But you can sort of see it's not refreshing instantly. So if something changes in the grid, like a bird lands or a bunny walks into it, it takes a little time to update. If that's going too slowly for you, you can turn up the refresh speed. I think 30 is probably, I wouldn't want to go much higher than that. Certainly if you put it unlimited and use a really big grid, then it will lag you a lot. You can see this is super laggy. So I wouldn't recommend doing that, but you can if you want. As I said, 30 is probably a good upper limit to aim for, but you can play around with it. Then you can change the grid size. So there's separate grid sizes for most things, for walls, sandbags, turf. And then finally you can turn the whole mod off and just have normal placement. You can always toggle that by holding Control and bring it back temporarily. And you can do the opposite when it's on to turn it off temporarily. And I just want to show that this is compatible with controllers. So works basically the same way. The main difference is how you get at the options menu. So in single player you can just click in the right stick, but in Don't Starve Together that brings up the scoreboard. So you'll have to do left stick click from there, and then you can access all the options, just like normal with a keyboard. Anyway, that's all. So hope you enjoy the mod, and don't starve.